Hey guys, my name is Brad Moody. I'm 41 years old and I'm making a career change, and I am going to work on my commercial pilot's license. And I don't really know what the end goal is going to be yet. I'm still kicking that around a little bit. I mean, initially it was to join the airlines, but I've been doing research for probably the past month or so, and there's a lot of different options that are out there. However, I do know no matter what, I want to build it up enough to get my ATP license and pursue a career in aviation full time. I'm currently a real estate agent, so the opportunity to be able to continue to do that on the side is there while I finish this up. And even as I get those jobs, there's a lot of guys and girls who, once they're in their career and they have those 12 or 13 days off on the airlines, like that's what they're doing. They're doing some side real estate things and or other side kind of hustles, right, to occupy their time some. And so I've already kind of have a business to do that with. So now I'm really trying to make headway on this thing. However, I'm only literally a half an hour into my pilot's log. I did create a video on my first discovery flight. However, my phone blew up, so I lost that video. But I'll tell you guys about it real quickly. But here's my first half hour on a discovery flight that I took at ILM. So I live in Wilmington, North Carolina. Well, I live in Curry Beach, North Carolina, but I'm in the Wilmington, North Carolina area. Right now I'm sitting in my car on land waiting to take a ferry across by sea to go hop on an air by plane today. So it's a cool adventure that I get to take today as I go on my second discovery flight. So the first one that I took was at Cape Fear Aviation. Unfortunately, it was only a half hour because we were under VFR conditions. However, there was some lower clouds rolling in. We were only about 1,000 feet. We flew the pattern twice, did a stop and go and then a full stop. I was able to fly a little bit, so that was cool. It was an amazing aircraft. So it was a Cessna 172, a 2022. So basically brand new with the Garmin G1000 system in it. So really just like top of the line, great aircraft, right? Really spoiled. Today, I'm going to be going on an older aircraft. I don't have the date yet, but it is a 172 as well. But it's one from the 60s, 70s, and it has the glass in it, or a steam pack. I think it has a G5 in it. We'll, when we get there, kind of go through that and make sure have all that information for you as well. But the main reason why I'm creating these videos is I'm having a hard time finding and following anybody who's really gone through this process from tip to end. There's lots of breaks, and it's like, oh, I started and it was just so much work that I was doing that I really didn't have the time to post anything, right? It has kind of been what I've found in a lot of other people. So you're gonna get a lot of stuff from me probably in the car as I'm riding around, coming back and forth from the airports, and there's not gonna be a ton of editing. I'll try and cut it up and make it nice and consistent and all those things. However, I'm not gonna have that time either, really, to really cut it up and make it look super pretty or anything like that. And so you're just gonna get a lot of my raw thoughts on the day and how that process went, and the things that I'm doing to prepare for my next lesson, and those reflections. Another reason why I'm doing this is the reflection piece. I want to be able to go back as well and reflect on this process. I think that's a huge piece of the decision-making process that a lot of people overlook, or at least I know I overlook a lot, is that time to reflect whether it was successful, whether it was a failure, what that process looked like and how to make it better, whether it was great or terrible, improvements to make, things that may have been misguided, right? and having that opportunity to go back and look at those things, I think are going to be important for me as a part of this process. And I hope that you guys are able to get something out of it as well, as you start your own journeys and you're looking at this, trying to figure out what it's really like to get through it. So, as I mentioned, I did a discovery flight with Ferry Aviation. Today, I'm going over to High Tide Aviation. Excuse me as I start to load up onto the ferry here. They are located in Oak Island, North Carolina. So a big difference is going to be not just the aircraft itself, right? This is going to be an older aircraft with the glass systems in it instead of, a brand new aircraft with the latest technology in it. That will be different. But also ILM is a towered airport, right? And now I'm heading over. It's not a grass strip, it is paved, but it is a non-towered airport. And so that's pretty attractive to me, in the fact that I can get up and down out of the air pretty quickly. Not gonna have to worry about, waiting on airliners or anything like that. So that's a big piece for me that I think is gonna be important when looking at this. It also is going to cost a little bit less to fly these, right? It's older planes, so older planes a little bit cheaper. The instructors are not quite as much either. I'll go over some of the pricing in another video, kind of as I start going through the 3 different schools I'm looking at. I'm also looking at another school located in Smithfield, North Carolina, called Blue Line Aviation. I've not started anything with them yet, outside of just talking to them. I haven't set up a discovery flight or anything like that, because noon today I'm doing a discovery flight at High Tide Aviation. However, at 3:30 I've got my appointment with my AME to do my first class medical. So that'll be the last kind of piece, I think, before I really dive into this thing full bore, because my next thing that I'm going to do once I get my first class medical and that's clear and I'm good to go, I'm going to start doing all of my writtens. And so I'll kind of go over that when I'm doing those, how I'm going to prepare, which ones that I'm taking, why I'm taking those, and why I think that's going to be an important piece for me in the track that I'm looking to go. I really want to do this as fast as possible. So I want to find a place that I can get up in the air as quickly as possible, which is why I'm looking at Blue Line Aviation. They have a 5.5 month 0 to hero program, right? From your 0 hour to, your commercial pilot, your MEI is basically the last rating that you'll get there. And they do that in 5.5 months. However, talking to Ferry Aviation and talking to High Tide Aviation, both of them have indicated that a full-time schedule will take me 3 months just to get my private pilot's license. So let that sink in for a minute. 5.5 months, I can get everything from 0 hours all the way up through my commercial, to where I have a CFI job basically in 5.5 months. Or I can go with one of these that is more local. As you can tell, I got a car seat, so I got kids. Like, that's an important piece that I have to consider in this. But 3 months just for the private pilots, instrument rating, another 5 months. I mean, in total, I think it's going to be more like 2 years to get the same amount of ratings that I can get in 5.5 months at Blue Line. Now, there's obviously big cost differences, and I'll get into that and kind of break those down. But those are the 3 major schools. There is an ATP in my area at RDU. However, I don't want to be at a massive airport like RDU. That is going to be a lot of wasted time sitting in a seat to me. Now, most of that is already, included and calculated and all that kind of stuff. But I don't want to be sitting on a taxiway or waiting for a lot of the big guys to come in and out while, I'm trying to get up in the air. So I think Smithfield would be it's in Johnson County airport. With Blue Line would be kind of as big as I want to get. I think that's a C-class airspace, or no, that's D-class, but you fly into RDU a decent bit to get into the C-class airspace some. which a lot of people say RDU should probably be a B class because it's so busy, but that's the way it's built out right now. So today's big thing is going to be talking to the instructor. I think he's pretty new, and really trying to see if we can get together. They've got more planes here at High Tide. I think they have 4 that are kind of available, 4 Cessnas that are available that basically have the same equipment in them. They also have another branch in Georgia, so they're able to kind of move their planes around a little bit as they need them. So one of the guys that I'm going on the Discovery flight today seems to be a new CFI, which I've got nothing against a new CFI. I actually think that may be useful to me because he doesn't have a lot of students, and my goal is to do 4 hours a day in the plane 5 days a week if I can get it done. I think it is not unreasonable once I get all my writtens done to be able to get my private pilot's license in a month. I think the biggest issue I should have is just trying to get a check ride done, or getting on the wait list for a check ride. I mean, it just takes a while sometimes to get that done. So that's the big piece that I think will be slower, or will slow me down, or should be the reason that slows me down. Talking to some people, they're basically like, oh man, like going up once in a day, like when you're done with that, you're going to be exhausted. Like 2 hours is plenty, a couple times a week, and that it's not to me, right? To let you guys know a little bit more about me and my personality, I am a workaholic. When I get into something, it's 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. I coached football in Texas for a while, so what some people would consider like murderous schedules. I mean, I need 8 hours a day just to feel okay at night. If I do anything less, like I got too much pent up energy. Like I need a good, hard workload for me to feel fulfilled and just to be okay, right? So I know everybody operates differently. That might not be you. You may be somebody who, 4 or 5 hours is plenty for a work day. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? Everybody, I think, is built differently. And so maybe just one flight a day, 2 or 3 times a week, maybe that is a good schedule for you and that is a good pacing. But for me and my goals, that's just not fast enough for me. And ultimately, part of the speed is I do feel like the pilot shortage, it's not going to be over by the time that I get everything done. My goal is in 18 months from the time that I start my training, that I want to get my ATP, and I want to find either a regional or some other, maybe even freight at that point. But I want to be using my ATP license in 18 months after I start is my goal. It may be more like 2 years, and I'm okay with that. However, my goal is to get into, especially if I'm looking at the airlines, to get into my position as quickly as possible because of seniority, right? And all good things come to an end, right? So even though we're at this historical place for pilots, I'm not there. I got 2 years to get there. Anything can happen in 2 years. Currently, this is it's February 15th, 2024 when I'm recording this. So we're in an election year. Anything can happen after a big presidential election, right? I'm sure between now and then, whoever's in charge is going to make the economy look as good as they can between now and then, even if that means sacrificing things on the back end, which I hope does not happen, both as a real estate agent and just a person living in our country, right? I'm hoping that we continue to keep inflation in check and not lower our rates too much just for political reasons, right? So that's that piece. But once you get your seniority number, right, that's what is going to allow you to be able to pick your lines, pick your base, right? All those type of things. Plus, I'm not gonna lie, I already ran the numbers. If it takes me, 2 years to kind of clear through all my ratings, and then another 2 years, right, to pick up all my hours at a slower pace, right now, I'm really looking at missing out a large chunk of money. I can't work really as a CFI during that time. I kind of ran all the numbers and stuff like that, and I mean, it could cost me as much on the back end as $1 million to move slowly through this process instead of trying to really gear down and just focus on this for a while and get done as quickly as I can. And that's a lot of money, right? However, I am gonna have to finance it on the front end, and financing through some of these schools right now, I'm not gonna lie, like Stratus, and there was another one that Blue Line sent me. They had variable rates starting at around 15%, going up to as high as 19%. They had one fixed rate option that was 21.5%, right? Insane to me. Interest rates, you can get credit cards for under 20, right, with the right deal. So those loans are not for me. So I'm actually looking at a HELOC or a home equity loan as a part of the way that I'm going to finance, as well as hopefully being able to self-finance a little bit as I go along with real estate. Hopefully getting some more transactions to close that, I can use that to help finance as well. Some do offer some block time discounts at High Tide and Cape Fear, and Blue Line does offer a $5,000 discount currently for cash. So if you're not using one of their kind of loan providers and you're paying for it, so if I got a home equity line or a HELOC to them, that's the same as cash because I'm paying them, right, as we go out of that basically as cash. So a couple of things I think I've done right so far. I've got my AOPA membership, year-long membership. I also got the credit card as well. And both times that I gave those to the flight instructor to pay for my discovery flights, they're both like, oh, you're really serious, right? I mean, there were signs that I am deadly serious about what it is I'm doing. I took a hard credit hit, right? All that kind of stuff in order to get this stuff in place, because I am really serious and focused on what it is that I want to do. And I think those two things are important. You don't have to do them, but I do think it does show a level of seriousness that maybe it doesn't to other people. And you can do that at any part of the process that you want. Right now, the AOPA card is through Commerce Bank. So if you want to look into that, that's who you go and get in touch with about their card. I think today, really the first class medical is the biggest hurdle through it. Even more than the discovery flight is going to be seeing if I can pass through that, and I'll kind of touch on that as I get later into the day on what hurdles I think that I'm going to have to overcome in order to pass it. So taking a break now, so I'm gonna get out here, enjoy this for a little bit, and I'll pick it back up when we get over to Oak Island. Here we are pulling up to the airport now. Right here to the left, behind that blue screen, you can't see it, but there's a trailer right there. That's actually High Tide Aviation's helicopter school there, so they do both helicopters and airplanes. We are riding around now to go around to the far side. I saw a couple of Cessnas coming in, take you down. They just landed, so not sure if either one of those is the one I'll be on today, but fairly decent likelihood, probably a 50-50 chance since they got 4 of them, that one of those may be it. And I can see another one that looks like up in the air flying a pattern right now, a little bit further up. So even though it's a small non-controlled airport, you can see there's a lot of activity going on here at this one. Again, it is paved, it's not grass, even though it doesn't have a tower. In just a minute, we'll roll up on the FBO as well as High Tide Aviation's airplane section, and take a look there. That's pretty cool. I mean, how can you not love stuff like that, right? Getting ready to take my own discovery flight. So here is the FBO right here out of the turn. Got a business jet over there, and those hangars right there. You can see the far one that's open there. That's High Tide Aviation's hangar, as well as this building right here to the left is their office. Inside their hangar, they've got some ground school space and a simulator and that kind of stuff too. May not do a video on that today, just because of time and things like that, but we'll see. May poke my head around and at least get some pictures and things like that of some things here for you. So I'm gonna log off. I'm gonna take some pictures and kind of catch up with you guys here in a bit. So it's an absolutely gorgeous day. Pretty busy out here because of that. Wanted to do a quick little run through. We've already done the pre-flight checklist, checked everything. He ran in to go and grab, my CFI Jack ran inside to go and grab a headset for me real quick. So I thought I'd do a quick little walk around here of this one that we'll be going up in here today. So wanted you guys to be able to take a look, right, and kind of see the difference here in the cockpits, right, as well. So you can see small back seat, and then right there in the very back, right, you have a little bit of storage area where you keep a lot of different stuff, and you can access that through this panel right here and pop that open. But this is the Cessna, I guess 136 that we'll be going up in today. So it should be pretty cool. Hopefully I'll be able to capture a little bit of video, but I do want to fly, so we'll see how much I actually care about doing that when we're up. This is their Beechcraft Bonanza. This is their complex airplane, so it's got the retractable landing gear, things like that. So that way you can get time on this. This is more for your commercial, or as you're working towards your commercial. Quick little interior view. You can see it's much bigger on the inside, right? At least I think it's a lot bigger on the inside than this side. But this is a gorgeous, gorgeous machine as well. Had to race to get back over here to get in line in the ferry, so it's not immediately after getting it done, but there it is. Second discovery flight into the logbook. This one was way better. Being able to take off there at Cape Fear Regional. It's the name of the airport. I don't know if I've mentioned that yet. They're in Oak Island. So being able to take off there, flew around Bald Head, up around my house, came back and landed, was able to fly, maintain some speed, worked on some trim, right, just basic things. Still a little buried in the instruments as I'm flying around, so I need to be a little bit more cognizant of getting my eyes out the window a little bit more, especially just trying to do the private pilot license. But it is unreal. I really hope the videos that I took come out as well as what it looked like up there. It was gorgeous up there today. Not much of a wind. We had a little bit of a tailwind actually, so didn't have to worry about that too much. No clouds in the sky. So it was just a nice, really smooth flight, and that was incredible. Talked to the instructor a little bit and just kind of emphasized to him towards the end, when we were down, that I really am looking to try and knock out my private pilots in a month. Now, it's probably going to be another month even after I get things done today with my first class medical. Hopefully that all passes, but it'll probably take me a month to get all my writtens done, I would imagine, to sit down and study and like crank out, you know, getting prepped. I think there's 5. Don't quote me on that yet. I'll do a test prep videos, obviously, as I'm preparing for them. But I know the first one, you know, is going to be the private pilot, and I was looking through the book today, ASA's test prep book. I looked through that, got through the first couple of chapters as I was sitting around waiting on Jack to finish up another flight, so that way we could go today. So that was time well spent, I think. So got a little bit towards that, understanding kind of what the structures of the tests are going to look like, so a little cheat there. But the flight itself was awesome. It was definitely different coming out of a non-towered airport. It was definitely different being in an older plane, as far as like not just the gauges, but just the way everything handled was just a little bit different, which I actually appreciate. So I really think right now, I mean, rose-colored glasses after just leaving the place, right? But if I can set things up to learn how to get my private pilots there, I doubt we'll be able to put anything together fast enough to keep pace with what Blue Line does. However, if I can sit down with the CFI over at High Tide and put together a package where, you know, weather dependent, within a month, I can get my private pilots done, probably get it done cheaper than what I can do it at Blue Line. And on top of that, I'll be able to learn on a steam pack or glass instruments instead of the G1000. Don't get me wrong, like, I think the G1000 is what I want to ultimately fly. But as a workaholic, I already know part of my flaw is not being able to enjoy wins, or not even seeing the wins sometimes, and also not appreciating the journey. I think enjoying the process is going to be something that I'm really going to try and focus in on, and doing things, you know. I think there's some value from going old school to new school, right? And just learning the basics and the very fundamentals of how things were done from the start, I think will pay off for me in the long run, and it's something that I'll enjoy more. Now, I am gonna cross over the ferry. I'm gonna grab my EKG report, and I am then gonna go to the AME's office. They just called. They're running about a half hour early, which is great. So now I'll run across here, grab my stuff, and make my way up over there. For me personally, I am not worried about my vision. I'm a little bit farsighted, but I don't think that's going to be an issue. I'm not worried about my hearing. I've always passed those tests. I'm not worried about the neurological tests of, like, you know, touching your nose and heel down your shin and all those kind of things, right? None of those things really concern me. And I've always had great blood pressure, and I've been blessed in some ways. However, when I was a young teen, 13, 14 years old, I was diagnosed with ADD. And so I did take Adderall for a little while. It messed with me. I didn't really like the way I feel. It, like, the first few days I was taking it, it actually did kind of help me focus and things like that. But after that, like, I started to feel just weird. Maybe it was just too much stimulant, or something like that for me, but really just messed with the way that I was feeling. Like my mind wasn't anxious, but it felt like my body was physically anxious all the time. So I haven't taken it since then. So we'll see if that is an issue. I know the rules changed in September of 2023. You know, I'm not 100% sure on the rules, and I'll talk to my AME about it. Obviously, I put it down on my list of things that, you know, it's part of what you're filling out in that application, as part of that. So I'll talk to them about it. But I think even with the diagnosis, as long as you haven't been on any medications over the past 4 years, it shouldn't be an issue, which is good news, because honestly, if there's anything that's over-diagnosed in our country, it's probably ADD or ADHD, especially at a younger age. Coming from a place where I was an educator, I know kids have a lot more energy than adults, and sometimes we can't keep up with them, right? And so it may be more, you know, I think the numbers right now is like 60% of those that were diagnosed as a juvenile with ADHD are non-medicated, non-symptom having adults, right? Comparatively. So I think that has caused part of this change. I think the pilot shortage has caused part of that change, but that is one hang up that I'm gonna have to clear today. And then also, when I was 19 years old, I had a drinking and driving while under 21. So I was pulled over and I had alcohol in my system, and I was under the age of 21. So whether it was a DUI or DWI, like drinking and driving under 21, no, I'm 41. So that was over half my life ago. I would like to think that I'm a lot more mature than that now. They do an FBI kind of background check on you over the last 10 years. There's nothing there that worries me. But those two things from, you know, one from my childhood and I guess young, very early adulthood, are things that I'm going to get cleared up. And I'll let you guys know how it goes at the end of that. So just left my first class medical exam. Unfortunately, I don't have a certificate to show off. As I was telling you guys beforehand, I do have a drinking and driving while under 21 on my record, as well as ADHD. ADHD was not a problem. I actually forgot about my torn labrum, but I did remember to put that on the sheet. But that was another thing that we just kind of touched on real quick that happened in my 20s, but totally rehabilitated. So there wasn't a lot of, you know, obstacles outside of the drinking and driving while under 21. So with that, he actually grabbed an extension, right? Like he has this normal form, but he added, let's call it an addendum, right? That had that specifically on there. So it looks like if you have more than one kind of drinking violation on your record, you're going to have a problem. For me, since that's the only one, the thing that he asked me to do was provide him a narrative about the situation, exactly what happened. Because I've called before and I haven't been able to find my records of it. So I'm going to try and call and see if I can't find my records. If not, then I'm going to have to get, you know, where the incident happened. I'm going to have to get those municipalities to just send in a letter saying that they don't have any standing record of it, or whatever standing record they have of it. I have checked for this before when I was getting my teaching license, probably like 10 years ago, and I couldn't find it then. So I doubt I'll be able to find it now, but I'm going to need to do that to make sure that I can do that. And then I also need my driving record over the past 10 years. So luckily it's only going to be 2 states. I just got to get in touch with Texas as well as North Carolina, try and get my driving records to get all those in. And that'll be, I think, it as far as the first class medical. I'll be able to get my certificate then. So I'm hoping to get that in the next, I'm going to work on it tomorrow. Today's a Thursday. So Friday, I'm going to try and get the ball moving. So that way, hopefully next week, I can get him everything he needs. So that way he can give me my certificate. So one thing that kind of bugged me when I'm looking online about the first class medical process is like literally what you do during that process so you can mentally prepare. So I wanted to share that with you guys real quick before I wrap this up. Walk in. First of all, if you are in the Wilmington area, Dr. Cromer is a delight. Ian, his assistant, is absolutely amazing as well. I really enjoyed just being with both of them. They're just good guys, pilots, right? Like some AMEs are, but is a pilot, understands the deal and everything like that. So did an eye exam, this typical like 60 feet back, looking at the wall with the big E on the top of that chart. Did that, went in, sat down, did blood pressure, heart rate check, gave me a hand chart to kind of do it again, right? Look at with both eyes, close each eye, right? Reading the chart again. Did a colorblind test. So if you haven't done one of those, basically he's flipping through a book and there's circles, right? And in those circles, there's 2 different colors, right? Or multiple different shades within that color, right? With some numbers in there or maybe no numbers in there, right? And you just tell them what you're seeing as they're doing their colorblind test. And those were like the big kind of things coming up to an equipment that looked more like what you would find at DMV, where you kind of push your head up against it. Now at DMV, like you press your head up again and you're like smashing it in. But this was like testing my peripherals, I think, because I was telling them where the lights were at, right, on the side there, and then had to match up like where an arrow was on some lines. And so I don't know if that was really like testing my depth perception or just, you know, I guess the focal length maybe of my eyes. So we did that check, and that was all with Ian, who was great. Also did a urine analysis. I don't know, they just like stuck a stick in there. It wasn't necessarily, I don't think it was like a drug test or anything, but just a quick, simple checking maybe just the pH or something. I don't know. But that was really quick. And then outside of that, sat down, checked my breathing, that kind of stuff. Normal kind of physical things. I just did my physical not long ago with a doctor that he knows and likes, and so kind of told him, went through that, all that with him as well. So for the most part, you know, pushed around on some abdomens, checked joints, reflexes, that kind of stuff. Checked eyes, ears, throat, tongue, right, all those kind of things. So nothing outside of the normal standard. I would say from your normal physical, outside of maybe, you know, the colorblind test or the eye test that you may not do during a normal physical, depending on who you're doing your physicals with. So overall, the process was pretty quick. I mean, it could have been quick. It took about 45 minutes, but we were talking a lot. I really like both these guys. So we did a lot more than just the quick test. So I would imagine it probably doesn't take more than about, you know, 15 to 30 minutes max, if you're going in to get one. And this is the first class medical, so I don't know how that would change if you're looking at your second or your third, but with, you know, getting an ATP license and wanting to get on an airline, you know, making sure that I can pass the first class medical is going to be important. So now the big deal, get my paperwork in line so that way I can get my certificate. But for those of you who have some of those things that you're worried about, don't be worried about it. Get it done. Go in and just don't be scared or let the medical kind of be too big of a boogeyman. But if you do have any type of alcohol related driving issues on your record, go ahead and make sure you get all of that together before you even come, right? So, because if I had that stuff together, I'd be leaving with a certificate today. And I had plenty of time. I mean, I made this probably 2.5 weeks ago, maybe. And if I would have known like I needed to bring this paperwork, I could have already had this in, so it wouldn't have extended this time. So just think about that, or any other records that you think that you have. You know, make sure that you go ahead and piece all that together beforehand. So that's going to wrap up today. Today has been an amazing day. Even though I'm not walking out with my first class certificate, I'm still really happy with the way everything went. Next video is going to be me probably headed up to Blue Line to go and do my Discovery 8 day up there, and I'll recap everything from the first class medical from here to that point. So enjoy, aviators.